Equal justice under the law means that each individual, regardless of race, creed, color, nationality, ethnic origin, and financial status, when they come into a courtroom like this, they're treated equally. They have the same rights, they have the same responsibilities, and the law applies in the same way.
When you think about things like equal justice under the law, to me, a big part of that is access to the legal system. You can't have equal justice under the law if you don't have access to that system to obtain justice.
The most important thing in this country is a free and accessible system of justice. Without that, we have nothing. The courts are everything to us.
That's why I went to law school, was to try and uphold that idea of equal justice under the law. Unfortunately, I think that we have a long way to go. Legal aid is at the center of trying to promote that for all members of our community.
Their mission is to bring legal services to those who can't afford it, and I think they compound that with offering people a hand up as opposed to a hand out.
We need legal aid because every citizen under our Constitution has been promised life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And without equal protection under the law, we're not going to have that.
You provide the best, the most zealous advocacy you can for your individual clients. And if in that process you find issues or problems that are amenable to being attacked on a wider basis, then you do that as well.
That was bedrock in the beginning and is still bedrock, that we're out there to represent people who cannot afford the services of a lawyer, and that has not changed and hopefully never will change.
The 100th anniversary of the Legal Aid Society is an opportunity to celebrate the great work and the importance of the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland. It was part of the progressive movement, and there were people who were involved in the Goodrich Settlement House. The Legal Aid Society had support from some of the families from Euclid Avenue, and the Jewish community was actively involved in it as well. We were the 5th Legal Aid Society founded in the United States, following New York, Boston, Philadelphia, and Chicago. There was a justice of the peace type court system at that time. The Legal Aid Society was important in developing the municipal court system to replace that somewhat arbitrary system of dispensing justice. From what we know about the efforts to form the Cleveland Municipal Court and replace the other system, systemic change was always part of the mission of the Legal Aid Society.
There was a big concern about the plight of immigrants, mostly European immigrants. It was funded in that period by charitable donations entirely.
It was the only source of support that legal aid had until 1913. When the forerunner of what is now known as United Way started funding organizations, and we were one of the charter members here in the city of Cleveland.
During the Depression, everybody had legal problems. And I think the distinction between the needs of recently arrived people to this country and those who've been here for a long time began to disappear. After the Second World War, the issues that became prominent were the legal needs of returning veterans, and then a great deal of concern developed about the need for indigent representation in criminal cases. It was felt that there was a greater need to professionalize this, and so in the 1960s, the Board of Trustees decided to create a defender unit. And I think they started out with 5 lawyers. That continued up until the late 1970s, when the county created a full-time public defender staff, which, interestingly enough, is now headed by someone who was a former legal aid lawyer.
In the 50s, I was very much a part of what we call the war on poverty, and there was enormous energy and excitement. I mean, we were really making a difference.
The 1960s were characterized by a spirit of idealism evolving out of the civil rights movement. The legal aid lawyers of that period saw themselves as part of the civil rights movement, but they had a broadened concept of civil rights because they thought that civil rights were not simply rights that related to equal treatment regardless of race, but also equal treatment regardless of income level.
purpose behind the Legal Aid Society is to ensure that no man, woman, or child in this United States of America is denied equality or access to equal process simply because they can't afford it.
People who don't have power can't protect themselves, can't enhance themselves often effectively unless they have a professional with legal skills who's on their side.
They can expect to get the high-quality representation that they would get in any law firm if they could afford to hire one.
My generation and the generations to come probably overall need to get a little bit more committed to giving back to the community and fulfilling that kind of sense of moral responsibility.
If there are rights that the law provides, whether they're substantive rights or whether they're simply rights of due process, because perhaps that person is going to lose their home for failure to pay the mortgage. Those rights don't mean anything if they're not asserted on behalf of that person.
We provide services through an intake system that respects people and their privacy and the nature of their problems. We try to focus our limited resources on issues of shelter, safety, stability, economic independence, in protecting Social Security and unemployment, in Medicaid and in food stamps where the law provides certain benefits. We assist people in being able to get what they are entitled to under the law and based on the facts in their particular case.
We're proud of the people who have come through this organization, who have remained in this organization. Our longevity is one of the best in the country.
I think there are no people more dedicated to their jobs than the people at Legal Aid, and many of the people on the staff have spent their entire professional careers here at Legal Aid. Our average age is 50, the average experience is 20 years as a lawyer, and this is not just what we do, this is who we are.
We are specialists in poverty law, and it isn't everybody that's a specialist in poverty law. And therefore, a lot of members of the legal profession would rather contribute money to allow us to hire attorneys that can provide that type of service.
If we weren't here, there are a lot of people that would never receive representation, and you shouldn't be deprived simply because of the fact that you don't have money. I love to represent people with mental disabilities because, to me, they're some of the most vulnerable people in our community. If I didn't help these clients keep their housing, these are the people that would be homeless, living out on the streets.
If we are possessive of a talent, a skill, or ability that helps other people, we need to use some portion or all of that ability to help people. People need help. They don't know where to turn. They need to trust the organization that they're working with, and people are frightened. And Legal Aid Society is incredibly compassionate, very accessible, and to me, in that is their foundation.
I can't think, if I look back at my time with Legal Aid, to say I've changed anybody's life, but it sure has changed mine.
It was about seeing justice work and knowing that it can work and understanding that it made a difference in the lives of these individuals. Of course, I went on to pursue a legislative career, so knowing that these laws we write really do affect people individually.
Certainly, the legal community should feel an enormous obligation to the Legal Aid Society. They're doing our job.
We should not take it for granted. It is absolutely essential in this community, and it's essential that it grow and flourish and continue to be for everyone.
Here at Legal Aid, we have the opportunity to cast a whole different light on what lawyers can do to help people.
So I went to law school in order to serve people and to try and make their lives better, and I can't think of anything that would be as fulfilling as feel that the work that Legal Aid does is very noble.
We either step forward and provide services yourself or write a check to Legal Aid and try to assist them in hiring the staff they need. The bottom line, I think, is if we, the lawyers, don't do it, it won't get done. If we, the lawyers, don't do it, who then?
I was actually a client of Legal Aid. Came to them, basically was repeating my family cycle of no education, no money, and abusive relationships. I mean, first there's just the basic, have to clean up the the life that existed, you know, the divorce, the issues with my daughter, all of those things needed to be unwound. And they did that, but the other piece that they provided that I think was probably more important was the challenge to not end up needing to be a client again in a couple of years. I had my 2 children, who were probably 3 and 4. We were living in a 1-bedroom apartment that was incredibly small. I was unemployed. And, you know, that was our existence. I didn't have a lot of self-confidence. I didn't have any self-esteem. I didn't think I was very smart. And I didn't think I'd ever be anything. Today, my kids and I live in Cleveland Heights in a house. I'm an attorney for Charter One Bank, and didn't imagine this kind of life for me. You know, I didn't just finish law school. I finished law school and did very well. It's not the same me.
I had been diagnosed with cancer in May of last year, and I subsequently lost my job within less than 2 weeks. I'm a single mom with 2 children, and I need to take responsibility for their well-being as well as mine. In the process, my house was foreclosed on. I was quite beside myself, didn't know where to turn. And at that point, I contacted legal aid, and that's when my life started coming back together. They helped me. They talked to the judge. They filed the necessary papers and saved my home.
My most recent case with legal aid was an 84-year-old woman living with her caregiver in a large apartment building. She was blind, incontinent, and wheelchair-bound. Disabled, but incredibly competent and very sharp. She could not imagine that because she needed care, the management of her apartment building was willing to throw her into the street. When I could finally go to her and say, we have a chance, I went to court today, you have 2 attorneys that are really fighting for you and working on your behalf, it was an enormous sense of relief. We won that case, and the lady was not evicted, and services were soon to begin to keep her safe in her environment.
When I met the family, Tony was in 1st grade, and he'd already been suspended for 25 days from school. He'd been kicked out of daycare, and Miss Smith had lost her jobs as a nurse's aide because she was so frequently called away from her job to come try and subdue her son, Tony. And the family had 0 income at the time that I met them.
The tension was just terrible. You know, I didn't have a job, we didn't have money, worried about where food was gonna come from, tired of turning to family members, you know, just the pride thing, I guess, you know, not having the children get up in the morning knowing that everything's gonna be okay.
He academically was doing fabulously in the 1st grade, but he was removed so frequently due to extreme behaviors such as attacking a teacher, flipping over the principal's desk, but the school had not moved forward to identifying him as a student with a disability.
The first time I spoke with Mallory, it was just like, yeah, blah, 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 but she kept on me. She wouldn't give up on me because I just kept telling her, you know, no one's gonna help us. And she told me, well, I am.
And we got an extension of Ms. Smith's welfare benefits because she wanted to be working but was not able to. We were able to get that extension to bring some money in for the family. We were also able to get Tony approved for SSI benefits, which are for individuals with disabilities. Again, more cash for the family to help stabilize them during this time. And then got Tony placed at a special school called PEP, which stands for Positive Education Program, which is a therapeutic environment specifically for students who have significant mental health problems.
The school has done tremendous work for him. Everything is just smooth sailing now. He's on no meds. He's looking at public schooling next year.
And I think it's the goal for everyone to get him back, you know, into the public school district and moving on to become a well-educated, smart, productive boy.
Tony is a totally different person. You know, when people see him, they just, wow, legal aid, put everything aside, seems like I was the only client. Everything she did, I could never say thank you enough, never. And, you know, she did it the right way. The way I didn't know how to do it.
The fact that there's 100 years of dedication here in this community is something really to be proud of.
I do not know of another organization as well-respected, as honorable, and as compassionate as Legal Aid that has lasted 100 years.
And I hope they serve thousands of people, and I hope they may change millions of lives, and I want to be a part of that in any way that I can, because I think it's just awesome.
It's appropriate to congratulate Legal Aid and congratulate ourselves as a community on such an important milestone. But let's be real here. There were a lot of people who needed our help the last 100 years that we didn't reach.
As the legal profession, what would they do if we were not here? If we weren't here to handle those clients, what would they do? What would the clients do if they did not have access to the court to redress their grievance?
And I'm sure I'm speaking properly for Legal Aid when I say they'd love to hire internally on staff more attorneys and have them trained properly in all the areas where the legal aid lawyers provide assistance, and they simply don't have the funds to do it.
It would be nice if you would share your money with Legal Aid, because really, the legal aid lawyers are the most qualified and knowledgeable about handling the problems of poor people. But if you can't share your money, then share your time.
The legal aid representative will say, ladies and gentlemen, to the lawyers, I'm not telling you about something I run into once a month. This is what we have in the office today, tomorrow, next week. We served 8,000 people this year. We didn't have the money to do more. I had another 10,000 people outside the door with similar problems or worse. We need your assistance. We need it now, and we need it day after day. And I think the lawyers and the law firms will respond to it.